Is there anything more annoying than a Mary Sue in a game of Dungeons and Dragons? Well, yes, but not much, and that's because Mary Sue's, by just their sheer nature, as a trope, as a character archetype, or as a character that can be in a game, they rob everyone of critical character development because Mary Sue's warp the world, the lore, the rules, and other characters to their whims in order for them to have the best outcome possible. And not only do they rob people of their autonomy and their own character arcs, but they rob themselves of much needed character development, which then means that the story really isn't interesting at all when there aren't any interesting characters, because a story, whether it's one that's being told or being shared through a game of D&D, lives or dies by its characters, and players very quickly lose interest when they are unable to dive into their characters and discover who they are through the process of the plot, by developing them, by having them go up against all kinds of choices, enemies, relationships, challenges, puzzles. A Mary Sue gets rid of all of that, wipes the board clean, and keeps it so. And that's just a very boring game. And yet, we keep coming back to it again and again and again. And let's be honest, I think that most D&D players at one point or another have had a Mary Sue character that they've tried to play. Yes, be honest. If you've ever done a Mary Sue character once before, please sound off in the comments. You will not be shamed by me because I have a story to tell you. So without any further ado, welcome everyone to Camille's Harem, not just a podcast for novice writers by novice writers, but also a YouTube channel by novice writers for novice writers, because writing is an adventure, it's more fun with friends, and we believe that the game Dungeons & Dragons really can help you learn more about how to be a good author, a good creator, because Dungeons & Dragons is a shared storytelling experience, and you get to work with other people to create stories, to bounce off all different kinds of ideas, to interact, to develop dialogue. Dungeons & Dragons is a great way to develop very necessary skills for anyone who wishes to tell a story, because again, it is a shared storytelling experience. Now, when I was a dungeon master for the very first time, I had multiple Mary Sues in the first campaign. Oh, it's painful to admit. And I will also admit I committed the cardinal sin of having a Mary Sue dungeon master character. It's so embarrassing to think about. Funny thing is that character actually ended up being in my series, The Legend of the Ten Lords, but you probably wouldn't figure out who it is because they've changed completely from that time. Because I learned my lesson. Mary Sues are not interesting. But it wasn't just me with my DMPC being all cool and awesome for a couple of different sessions and really not actually being all that cool at all, but really being very annoying. There were two other players who also brought their own Mary Sues to the game. Now, one of them was built to be a Mary Sue, and that is again my fault. The other one was cheating at the game in order to be a Mary Sue. Let's start off with the character who was built to be a Mary Sue. You see, as I was bringing people together to be a part of this campaign, I really wanted to introduce my oldest sister to D&D because I thought that she would really enjoy it and that it would be a fun distraction from having to take care of all of her kids. Your kids will be babysat while you get to play D&D and hang out with cool people. Doesn't that sound awesome? Well, for her, she's like, well, I'm willing to hang out with people, but if you're going to make me play this game, I want to have a character that is just awesome, that makes me feel like I can just skate through the game, which is not what D&D is about. D&D is not a game to be won. It is a game to be enjoyed through the process of shared storytelling. However, I didn't appreciate that at the time, and so I decided to create a character for my sister based off of the Drinling race from the fantasy series Beyonders, which we were both really into at the time. Now, to let you know a little bit about the Drinlings are basically really hardy dwarves who only live for 2 to 3 years. The reason for that is because they were made simply to fight and to kill. They have an entire lifetime crammed into 2 to 3 years, meaning they never sleep. They can literally eat anything for energy. They keep on going and going and going. They can learn skills within hours. Within a day, they can learn a language completely and then speak it fluently. The only drawback is that they can't use magic. That is the one drawback to them, and they were designed that way. So I told my sister, you won't be able to use any magic whatsoever. You're just there to deal out punishment. And she's like, okay, sure thing. Oh boy, it was hilarious for actually quite a few sessions. It was fun having this dribbling around, but she broke so many things, because when a character never has to sleep, when a character can literally eat anything, when a character can learn anything within a day, you've created an absolute monster. Something that could take down a dragon so long as it is given a chance, and it won't even break a sweat. That is what adrenaline is when you introduce it to D&D. Yes, it was hilarious, but looking back at it, I ruined so many amazing moments, and there was no challenge for my sister whatsoever. So she had fun doing the whole role-playing bit when she managed to get into it, but because she also wasn't all too keen on the role-playing bit either, honestly, my sister did not get into the game of D&D as much as either of us would have liked, because there was no actual challenge for her to prompt her growth and to help her really think more about her character, think more about the rules, and think about working with the other people in the party. Again, creating a Mary Sue character prevents character growth, and as a result, it's hard to get involved with those characters, and it's hard for any other characters within the game to really have meaningful connections with them, which then causes divisions between the players at the table. The next big problem was the player who kept on cheating. She would continuously roll dice when she thought that no one was looking and wait until she either got a 20 or a 19. And then for any skill check or for any moment in combat, she'd be like, oh, I rolled a 19. Oh, I rolled a 20. Other players at the table began calling her out and saying, no, you need to re-roll. Eventually, they would tell me, hey, Lars, she's cheating. Have her re-roll. And then she would throw an absolute fit for 5 to 10 minutes to be like, I don't need to roll. I don't need to roll. Do you know what my character's been through? Do you know what my character can do? Do you know why my character is so important? I need to have this roll. I didn't cheat. My dice just happened to work that way. And then whenever we would ask her to re-roll in front of all of us, she almost always rolled really poorly, which is why she would, behind her hand or behind a screen, just keep on rolling as quietly as she could in order to get those really epic rolls. And the thing is that just like with my sister's character, if she ever got away with that, there were no challenges for her. So she was just this edgelord, Mary Sue, going around killing everything, getting all the loot, doing all this cool stuff, and never connecting with any of the NPCs or with any of the other players. And as a result, she was just kind of there being annoying and causing problems at the table between everyone else that didn't need to be there. If they just played the game properly, then sure, your character would have taken some big hits, but it would have led to some great character growth, and the other people at the table would have appreciated the honesty, and they would have helped her out even more in game to do all the really cool stuff that she wanted to do. It would have strengthened the friendships there at the table, and it would have strengthened the party's interactions overall, leading to a much more interesting story. And then, of course, my Mary Sue DMPC, who just existed simply to push the story along. Oh, yes, we've seen it before. The only thing I can really say to my credit in this case is that I did not try to usurp the entire campaign. The problem was that I did take away a player's autonomy a few times, which in hindsight is never any good. Let the players make their decisions and let them live the consequences. And sometimes something that might seem really dumb or bad to you as the dungeon master can provide tons of opportunity to do some amazing world building, do something really cool, and create experiences for your players that they will really, really enjoy. Sure, you might be flying by the seat of your pants, but it ends up working out way better than you normally would think. Because, again, it is a shared storytelling experience. And if you need the time to figure things out, let people know, hey, you know what? We're going to take a quick break right here. Let everyone have a chance to go to the bathroom, get some food, or maybe we have to reconvene in another week. So that way you've got the time to properly plan from that point onwards. And it's always fun for the players when they realize, oh, I did something the DM wasn't expecting, and then the DM has to come back around and conform to their choices and still deliver something that's cool and rewarding. That is the shared storytelling experience. But coming back to my previous question, why is it that we keep on going for Mary Sue characters? Like, we can see what all the problems are, and yet, despite the fact that we know that all these problems exist, why do people keep on creating Mary Sue characters? I think that it comes down to a couple of reasons. One is that for new players, it is all about winning the game, which again, yeah, sure, there's triumphing in the campaign, but Dungeons & Dragons is a shared storytelling experience. I know I sound like a broken record saying that, but that is true, where you work together to go on amazing adventures, do some amazing things, and create memories that last long beyond that really cool dice roll or that really cool loot. Another thing that leads to people creating these Mary Sue characters is that, you know what, sometimes they really like this character and they do not want them to die whatsoever. And they feel like they should not suffer at all because I don't want to hurt my little baby. As a result of that, they do everything in their power to avoid any sort of conflict, hindrances, or inconveniences that will come thanks to the interactions of other characters, the luck of the die, or anything that the Dungeon Master might throw at them. Which again, if you remove that adversity, you're not allowing your character to be their best self. We grow thanks to challenges. We grow thanks to positive relationships that we build with other people. If you don't have those things, or if you do not create the environment to have them in, a la a Mary Sue archetype running around ruining everything by trying to bend the world to their will, that Mary Sue cannot grow and they cause everyone else to not grow as a result, which just ruins the entire story. And then there is the worst reason of all, which is when someone has serious main character syndrome, where they feel that this is their story and it will all be about them. And this is something that I think, again, strikes all of us at some point or another, where we think that we can really shine this moment. We want this moment to be about us. And you know what? There are moments where individual players should be allowed to shine and have a really cool moment. And the Dungeon Master needs to be cognizant of that, needs to be paying attention to everyone at the table and giving everyone their fair shot to do amazing things. But also, once someone has begun to do something, let them know, okay, then now we're going to jump on over to this person so that way they can do this thing, because I know you've got some skills right there. Let's see what you can do. The Dungeon Master tries to encourage everyone else at the table to participate because you are equal partners within the game. If you have a main character, Mary Sue, running around ruining that dynamic, though, it just ruins the experience for everyone. It takes the power away from the Dungeon Master and from the other players and throws the entire story into chaos. Again, because characters are not given the chance to grow properly through all the cool interactions that they could have together and within the world that the Dungeon Master has created. This is why we cannot have Mary Sues simply running around, and why players should avoid them, and also why Dungeon Masters should avoid using them. But let's also just admit that, yeah, we are prone to creating our own Mary Sues at one point or another. And the best way to avoid that is by realizing, once again, Dungeons & Dragons is a shared storytelling experience. Share the scene with other people. Let other people shine. Give your character challenges, multiple challenges, to overcome not just whatever weird, crazy thing is in their angsty backstory, but by allowing them to have maybe a couple of stats that, yeah, you rolled poorly, so let's just roll with that. Sometimes you roll really badly, and you know what? It's just a chance to grow, as frustrating as it is going to be. And by not trying to break everything that the Dungeon Master throws your way, let them cook, let them tell their story, and give yourself a chance to immerse yourself in this world, in this campaign, in this experience, be your character, and do some cool things. And yeah, once again, realize that character growth comes through adversity. So you shouldn't get your way all the time. You should have pushback. You should have struggles. Why? Because it makes for a far better, more memorable experience in the end. And when you experience that playing Dungeons & Dragons, it becomes very clear why, then, Mary Sues suck when you put them into written works. So if you want to see why a Mary Sue absolutely destroys a story, play a really horrible game of Dungeons & Dragons with someone who has a Mary Sue character. You'll come to hate it really, really fast. That is my writing advice and playing advice for you when it comes to Dungeons & Dragons and to your own stories. If you like more stories and analyses and reviews about Dungeons & Dragons, we have an entire playlist for that. But if you're an author looking for more insights, reviews, analyses of stories and how to write, we have plenty of videos for you to check out here on our channel. And if you'd like to support the work that we do, please check out one of the books that we have published. Links for them are in the description below. Subscribe if you haven't already done so, we'd appreciate it. But otherwise, thank you so much for joining us on this incredible adventure that we call writing. And until the next video, y'all, tschüss.